What should companies be thinking about? I mean, you just said there's companies you're working with that are large that are still struggling with it. Like, what are they doing wrong? And then what are they doing right?
Well, they're doing a lot wrong, but to Megan's point, what they're figuring out is that people are leaving. So they still haven't figured it out. But when the talent like a Megan is walking out the door, and they call it quiet quit, whatever they call it, people are just checked out. So what you're losing is the talent, and then hopefully you catch that before everybody that because there's people that they're skating along there and they haven't been working since they've been there. So you don't want to have all that dead wood, so the people that are actually producing, when they say, hey, I had enough of this for whatever reason, and they're walking out, that's usually what they call the canary in the coal mine. You walk into the canary's dead, hey, something's going on. Now you can ignore that, or you can say, hey, you have those meetings, and it's leadership. It's a tough conversation. And then to hear it, it's probably something the leaders are doing, to Brian's point, that you're doing things that are insulting people. Not that you're intentionally doing that, but you're having these all boy things, and and you say, well, how come the women don't? Well, you're excluding them. So now to ask me the question, and you're going to hear it, if you're honest, you're going to hear a tough response, right? You're going to hear a tough response. And now not recoil from that, go, you're fired. Well, okay, then the one person that went up to put the bell on the cat gets killed. There's nobody else going up, right? So now to have that tough conversation, to hear that, take that medicine, and now go, hey, and be reflective. That's when people go, okay, I think there's something going on. So, Nick, there's a lot of companies that are struggling with it, but they're struggling because they're losing great talent, because great talent saying, hey, I don't have to work here anymore. I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And that's what I'm seeing, is that the recognition that you're losing folks that could be helping.
Yeah, I would say, and this is a hard and perhaps a radical statement, but people need to stop and think of, what am I doing wrong, right? Because if that's happening, you are doing something wrong, whether directly or indirectly. And it's taking accountability, and it is that humbling bad medicine, as Field said. Like, you don't like to recognize that you are a part of the problem. You might not have made the comment, but how is what you're doing or not doing affecting this? And so it requires change on everyone, right? So not just the person who made the sexist comment. It's, someone who created that culture where it was okay to make comments, and so everybody has to take accountability and change, which is hard, and people don't like doing it. When we talk about the boys club, it is so true. And I was in a job in politics, which I can tell you is another white boys club. I mean, and it's hard, and these things are ingrained. And, I again, not to be radical about it, but I always challenge my male friends and male colleagues to say something. And that is hard in a boys club. I understand that. It's hard, as Fields has said, to be the one standing up to put the bell on the cat. Like, because you may face resistance. You may face people not liking that. And that's an uncomfortable spot to be in. But Nick, I would say, first step in that is reflecting on yourself. And, when you think, as Fields is saying, these big companies, right? I can only assume I'm not the CEO of Microsoft or a big tech company like that, but I imagine there's some amount of ego to getting that high, that, you have $1 billion corporation, and, I don't know if reflecting on what you're doing wrong is necessarily a easy thing to do when you're that high up. And I caveat and just, to be aware, I don't mean to point fingers at anyone. I know Fields doesn't mean to point fingers at anyone, but I do have to reflect on myself. What am I doing? Why does my company not have more people of color? So it is acknowledging that we all have a part to play, whether active or inactive, and not just recognizing or seeing the other people in it, right? This other person did something. So
I guess that's to that point. I mean, how do people, because you're right, it can be an uncomfortable conversation. I think it's probably easier, I think if somebody is at a high level as a leader, and they have the autonomy and the authority to make change, obviously that's easier than it's position power, right? To have somebody that's, a low level person speaking up is much harder than a CEO speaking up, right?